Hi everyone and welcome to Brick Arena. A few weeks ago I asked you guys to submit questions ready for a question and answer video session. I got quite a few questions both through YouTube and Instagram, so let's get going with the first question. And the first question comes from Synergy. There are actually 4 questions in effect, so let's get started. First question, how old are you and how long have you been into Lego? Do I really want to answer how old I am? Well, I'm pretty transparent, don't really have an awful lot to hide. I'm sure you can all tell that I'm getting on in years, and I am actually 56 years old. So you're probably thinking, I'm sure he's in his 60s, but no, I'm really only in my 50s. Anyway, 56 years old. How long have I been into Lego? Really not that long. I actually wasn't a huge Lego fan as a kid. I mean, I did have Lego. I did have Lego sets. I did play with Lego. My sisters, who were all older than me, had Lego. Some of it dating back to the late 50s and early 60s. And so it was around. But to be honest, my preferred toy as a child was always Action Man, which was a kind of a, well, I guess you'd describe it as a sort of an army doll, for those of you who are not familiar with it. And I used to have great fun with that. Used to have great fun with toy soldiers, which my dad used to spend hours painting for me. So those were a lot of fun, and probably my favourite as a kid. So when did I get into Lego? I got into it actually about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was the back end of 2015. And I'd seen some Lego sets here and there. Somehow I stumbled across the Doctor Who Ideas set, which caught my eye a little bit. I started to see some Lego magazines. And around that time, I decided I would get an old tub of Lego that we had in the shed in my house. It had been there for about 20 years and desperately needed cleaning and sorting out. And I thought I'd get it, I'd clean it. I really just wanted it out of the shed. And the intention was to sell it. And then I started to realize what the value of some of that Lego was. And the more I looked into the hobby, then the more I became interested. And one thing led to another. And here I am today, doing all sorts of aspects of the hobby, collecting, selling, building, all of those things. And it's a great fun hobby. Little bit odd getting into it possibly at my age, but hey, it's interesting at any age, and I think anyone of all ages has a real affinity with Lego from their childhood or whatever. So no shame at all in being a Lego fan at my age. Second question was, could you sustain yourself solely on your Bricklink store? And honestly, no. Bricklink's great and you can make lots of money. You really get back what you put into it. And I work full time. I don't have an awful lot of time to put into the Bricklink store. Yes, you see me buying lots of Lego sets, both for personal use and for the Bricklink store. If I'm honest, I've got a massive backlog of sets to be parted out to put into the store to even sell. But I do get, a steady stream of orders, enough really for pocket money and to keep me sustained in the hobby. There's no way I could have been spending the amount I have on Lego without being able to fund it through having the Bricklink store. So I'm sure if I wanted to, I could make an awful lot more money if I put my mind to it and wanted to invest the time and effort. But for those of you who work full time as well as having a hobby, you'll understand that it's just so difficult to find the time. Life gets in the way. There just aren't enough hours in the day. So I don't make enough at the moment to make a living out of it. It is a bit of a nice retirement plan. I do want to retire early. When I do that, then I do see myself as maybe running a Bricklink store to bolster that pension that comes in each month. So who knows? Let's see. Next question is, what is your dream mock to build? Well, those of you who follow me, you'll realise I'm a much better buyer of Lego than I am a builder. What's my dream mock? I'm not the best mocker in the world, and possibly the worst, in fact. But if I were to build something, it's a little cliche, but I'd probably really like a Batcave. I think there's lots of great Batman sets, etc. Batman's something that I've grown up with from being a kid, right from the old Adam West tongue-in-cheek Batman series through all of the movies, etc. And he's my favourite superhero, so that would probably be amongst my top of my list. I know it's been done many times before, but hey, I just think it'd be pretty cool to have a great mock like that. So next question, we're still with Synergy. This is, do you have any friends who are also AFOLs? I don't really. I know people who are into Lego. I meet some people from my lug, which is not really a local lug; it's a national one. So I've met people from there. I wouldn't call them friends as such, though. So I'm really doing this as a bit of a loner. That said, what is great is the Lego community, and I think both on YouTube and Instagram, I've made lots of friends and acquaintances who, we don't spend time together, but it's always nice to hear from followers that have been around for a long time, and we've built up a bit of a relationship. So I guess I'd consider those friends. Next question comes from New Zealand Brick Fan, and he wants to know, do you have any sets from when you were growing up, or would you consider getting any from Bricklink, etc., or do I stick with modern? Okay, so I kind of answered some of this maybe in the questions from Synergy, where I said, I didn't really have much Lego as a child, but I do remember getting the classic space sets, and those are something that always stuck with me, even when I didn't know anything about Lego. You guys would call it a dark age. I wouldn't even call it that. For me, it was more of a black hole than a dark age. But I did remember the classic space sets. Those really stuck in my mind. So I'd probably say that I would like some of the classic space sets, and I did have some classic space still in this tub that I talked about cleaning out from the shed. So there was some classic space in there, and maybe you'll see more in the next video where I've recently stumbled across a few more smaller sets of those. Now, other older sets, I think I would have really liked the castle stuff, and I do look for sets that I have missed. I'm really only familiar with most of the sets that started from 2015 onwards. So I've done a lot of research, looked back at a lot of sets over the years, and some of them, there's some really cool sets that I've missed that I'd quite like. But whether I would want to spend a lot of money on them in the aftermarket, that's another thing. I don't think that's really me going chasing lots of money. You know me, I like a deal. So if I stumble across them cheap in a thrift store, on Facebook, wherever, then yeah, I might get some. Other than that, I'll probably stick with the modern stuff. Next question comes from Crispy Skins. He wants to know, what have been your favourite build to date and why? What got you back into Lego? Okay, so I'll take the second part of that first. I think I've already explained what got me back into Lego, or into Lego, was, cleaning out the shed, the sorting through the old Lego, at the same time seeing the Lego Ideas sets, seeing Lego magazines in the newsagents, which is WH Smith's in the UK, and flicking through some of those magazines. I don't have a Lego store near me, so I'm not one of those who would, casually walk into a Lego store and look at all of the great sets and think, wow, don't they look cool? But for whatever reason, just the here and there, little things just crept into my psyche to kind of just gnaw away at me and got me interested. Now, for the first part, what is my favourite build? Well, I'm a big fan of the modulars, so I really like the modular buildings. They're great. Similarly, I really like the ideas fishing store. I like them. There's just so much detail in the modulars, and they look really cool on your shelf. But the best set by far of, I guess you'd call this a modular, but it's the Ninjago City, and that was an incredible build. I think there's just lots of variation to it. I really like the right from the start building the water, the way that it was layered with the different blacks and greens to give depth to the water, and then building the way it's kind of lots of different buildings all put together in a mishmash of this sort of complex. It's just great. It's a great display set, and looks fantastic, and was a really enjoyable build. So that would be my top choice. Next question is from Gypsy Muffin, and their question is, if there was to be another set release based on a Netflix show, what would you like it to be? What a great question. Well, to be honest, I don't watch an awful lot of Netflix shows. There's lots of older shows that I might have watched that weren't originally on Netflix that are there now that could qualify maybe. But this was obviously in relation to the Stranger Things set coming out. And I've talked before about how much I like the Stranger Things series. That was great. But in terms of other series, I guess one of my favourite series that I've seen on Netflix it was You, which just wouldn't make a great Lego set at all. It's about this guy who stalks this woman, and it's a bit light-hearted, a bit comical, but terrible for a Lego set. So that would be no good. Breaking Bad's an old favourite of mine that is on Netflix now. So we've seen lots of mocks of Walter White and Jesse and all of those and the labs and the camper van, etc. That would be pretty cool. Looking at a few others, I don't know, maybe Gotham or the Umbrella Academy is one that I've seen a few episodes of. Didn't massively grip me, to be honest, but what I did like about it is the variety of the characters in there. So maybe they'd make good minifigures, something like that. Lost in Space, maybe one of those. Next question comes from Brick Bakery, who's a great guy. Comments on lots of my videos, always thoughtful comments, and he asks me, what made you decide to make a Lego store? Well, I guess it was just that as I got into Lego, I realised the value of it. I realised the worth and the resale value. I've always been, my family would say I've always been a little bit of a wheeler dealer. I like to buy and sell things, make a little bit of money here there, and pay for some of my hobby stuff. So it was a great opportunity. I also thought it looked really fun, to be honest, and a challenge. You've got to buy sets, buy them cheap. That appealed to me as well. I've really been looking for something that's a little bit more sort of entrepreneurial in something I could do. I've looked at sort of building websites and all kinds of things before, and passive income schemes and things, but this was a really tangible way of making some cash. And I guess it was really to help fund the hobby, because, as I said, I look at these Lego sets; they cost a fortune, and there's no way I could be buying them in the quantities I have been for my collection without being able to fund it somehow. So that was the real driver. Next question is, can we get live streams of what when you are parting out sets? And that's from J4CK Carter. Well, to be honest, a live stream of me parting out a set, I don't think would be very interesting. To be honest, I tend to part out in very small bursts. To be honest, I'm not one of these people who will sit down and spend 8 hours parting out. I'm more an hour and a half on an evening. I'll sit down at my desk in my other bricklink room, and I'll part some sets out. And quite often, I'll break the sets down into containers, then I'll leave them. It might be a few days, and I come back, and then I start to pack away and upload to Bricklink. So the whole process for me is spread out over too long a period, and I don't think it'd be that interesting. So probably not gonna do that, to be honest. Next question comes from Matthew Reynolds, who asks, what do I have in tray 132 of my store, and does it sell? Well, first of all, I don't have my trays or drawers in a numerical sequence like that. I have lots of different sequences for different types of drawers. But my first ones were in some Rayco 44 drawer units. So there's 44 drawers per unit, and I started them with A 1 through 44. The second one is B 1 through 44. The third C 1 through 44. And it transpires, if I look at those, then the 132nd draw is actually C44 for me. So what do I have in C44 is quite surprising, actually, because C44 is actually a very large draw. And I actually don't have a number on these big drawers because they're so big and obvious. I don't actually need to number them, so I only number 1 through 43 of each container, crazy as it sounds. So what do I keep in here? I keep lots of different plates. So I've got these hexagonal plates. I've got lots of others. These are 8x8 plates, 16 by 16s, and all sorts of stuff. So do they sell? Well, plates always sell, to be honest, but it's it takes time, like any part. They you can one day get someone buying all your tan plates, and then the others might not sell for months. So to be honest, it's very hit and miss. Also in the bottom of that drawer, I'm not going to go to the lengths of getting them all out. I don't know if you can see on the bottom there, but I actually keep all of my stickers. And I do that just to keep them flat, and the weight of the plates helps to keep them flat as well. And stickers sell reasonably well, to be honest. There's lots of things in there from Harry Potter, things like the Great Hall or the Quidditch match, and those stickers sell pretty well. Some of the more popular ones actually have been sort of Disney things from like I can't remember the set number, but it was like Jasmine's Palace or something like that, and those have sold really well. People obviously trying to make that set for whatever reason. So the next questions come from Every Brick is Awesome, and this came from Instagram, and they'd like to know, what do I do for a living? Well, I am an IT manager. I manage a global team, which is pretty boring to most of you, I guess. We do a lot of support work for our company. It's a kind of a corporate environment. Nothing too exciting, to be honest, and certainly not related to Lego or any really creative area, to be honest. They also ask, whereabouts in England are you from? Okay, so I'm from the northeast of England originally. I don't live there now. From a town called Middlesbrough. I am a big fan of Middlesbrough football team, as are my children, who are all grown now, all three boys, all football fans, and go back home occasionally. We don't have quite so much family there. One thing you learn is, as you get older, then there's fewer people still around to go and visit, but we do go back and see family from time to time. They ask, do you use Bricklink primarily to finance your personal collection, to earn extra money, or just for fun? I think I've covered this already, but it's really all of those things. It's really as I said, to fund the hobby, earn some extra pocket money. It doesn't all go on the hobby. Sometimes doing the YouTube channel, I've used it to buy equipment, new microphones, new lighting maybe, or I recently had this horrendous hard drive crash, needed to buy a new 6 terabyte external hard drive. So the money comes in for some of those things here and there, and really useful. The last question from them is, what are your future plans or projects for your personal Lego collection? Well, as you guys know, I've got quite a bit of backlog to start building. And the one thing I'm really realizing, to be honest, is that with all of the sets I've got, there is no way on earth that I'm going to be able to display all of these, even if I find the time to build them all. So they may not all get built. I am starting to think about, is there a few of these that I should maybe let go, maybe sell? I've got duplicate sets. I've still got a couple of spare Pet Shops, a spare Assembly Square, a spare Mini Cooper. So some of those I might let go. I'd really like to find the time to build a city again, or get back to the city. Really not happy with the way that's gone and is turning out, although people who see it tend to like it enough, but I'd like it to be a bit better than it is, to be quite honest. The other thing I have to do is, I'm surrounded by minifigures. I really got to build some good stands and get them all out on display. And I pretty recently got about 600 parts in to use on those stands, so that it's something that I really want to get around to doing pretty soon. So anyway, I think that's about it. I think that answers all of the questions. I hope it does. I hope I haven't missed anybody. If I did, I'm really sorry. Do let me know, and I'll try and ask. I'll try and do another of these sessions. I've been as transparent as I possibly can be. So hopefully you enjoyed the session. If you did, remember to give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the video channel, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.